Share screen. So, yeah, today is name of the study is Elon, as in Elon Musk, and Osiris rising. If you've ever heard of this term Osiris, he was one of the main gods or false gods, you would say, of Egypt.
Right.
And we're going to see how the devil had a very long range plan through the dark side of how he's going to bring about what he wants. But anyway, I'm already jumping ahead. But some of this today may seem wild and bizarre, but that is how they work and how they keep things hidden. Occult means hidden. So they hide things in occult ways, and they're hoping that nobody will look at it because it's this weird, bizarre, occult stuff. But God does not want us to be ignorant of the enemy's devices or to be led along by the TV, which the enemy controls. And we don't have to agree with everything brought today, but all I ask is please consider it. And anything you don't agree with, just, as they say, eat the meat and throw away the bones, kind of thing. But the point I'm giving today, one part of the theme is that they always give us our leaders, and they give us their man who will say some things we like. They're smart enough to know that they can't just put a Klaus Schwab and we'll all follow him. The conservative Christians I'm talking about. So they need to give us something of somebody who will say things we want. And we might not like 30% of them because, we know things, but if we can get 70%, everybody will go along with it somewhat. But because certain facts are revealed today, I'm guessing this video will be taken down, but we'll see how it goes. We know from the Bible that a giant and powerful world government is now forming around us, and we, the believers, are restraining this. So 2 Thessalonians 2:7, for the mystery of lawlessness is already at work. Only he who now restrains will do so until he is taken out of the way. And that doesn't have to be it's not a he, it's the one who now restrains, which would be the man child, or it could be the bride. And then instead of he is taken out of the way, it's until out of the midst becomes, or it becomes. It doesn't have to be he there. So they always give us our leaders, raising them up through the media. They can seem to come out of nowhere, like Obama came out of nowhere. And of course, he was not a leader for the conservatives, but it's the same kind of deal where one day he's a community organizer, the next day he's president of the US, and they make it look like, oh boy, he just came out of nowhere. And then now we've got Kennedy Jr., who I guess is running for president. And he says 70% things that conservatives will want to get behind. But one thing you'll find with any of the leaders, right and left, when it's something major that the beast system wants, like the injections, they will be for that. And so Kennedy Jr. said, quote, I will follow the WHO and the CDC pandemic plan. So he's real clear that he's going to get behind that. He also said, I am not anti-vaccine. Now, lately that they're bringing him up, he may have said more things, but I've got a tape where he said these quotes. And he also said, we ought to be mandating medical interventions. So that's a pretty big statement there for unwilling Americans. So if any of you unwilling Americans don't want what they want to give you, he is for mandating medical interventions. Doesn't matter how many people are getting killed or maimed by these medical interventions. They're just want it and to force it on everybody. And the same thing was when Trump brought in Operation Warp Speed, which was early on in the thing to bring the V's, and people are even afraid to say that word. That's how much control they have. They'll take down your videos, you know. Anyway, again, those on the right, those on the left, when it's something major like this, they'll be for it. Now, apparently, certain ones are now kind of not so for it, but that's because they're playing a role. They won't really be against it. They'll just kind of give it lip service so you can look more conservative. And a lot of these things seem to spring out of nowhere, like this Jason Aldean song, Try That in a Small Town. And I admit that when I watched it, I liked it. You know, it's like, yeah, you know, we don't want to put up with all this stuff. But then you think about it and you try to think, why is this coming? Now, he was the guy that was doing the concert when they had the big Vegas false flag shootings where supposedly 58 people were killed. And so they know how to raise their people up. And so now he comes out with this song that it's admitted he didn't write. So, you know, they bring these things to him. And it was filmed in front of the courthouse where some racial hanging happened. And so the point is not, are we for this song or are we against this song? But what is the Illuminati doing when they bring these things forth in the controlled media, and then the right and left fight back and forth about it? We know the Bible says in the last days, Jesus said there would be race wars. It says nation against nation, but the Greek word is ethnos. And so that was a warning from the Lord of what the devil is going to bring with these race wars. And so everyone dances back and forth saying, no, it's not racial. And the right and the left go on and on. But we need to see the hidden hand behind these things and the devil's schemes, lest we blindly be led along into their wars and into their deceptions. They want wars with other countries, but they also want a war within America to weaken us and continue the downslide of the country. It's much easier. You don't have to fear a country that's completely torn to shambles from within. And so the judges, Freemason judges, let everybody off for all kinds of crimes. And now it's no longer illegal to go grab a shopping cart and haul off some stuff, you know, for the most part. So all this is being brought in by design. So I almost accidentally went by this, but so, you know, there's a lot of talk. Well, is Jason Aldean a Satanist? Well, here's a tattoo from his arm. And this is the Las Vegas playing card deck. I mean, the Illuminati playing card deck that came out and somehow was snuck out, or I'm not sure exactly how it happened, but it's real hard to get. But there are a few people that have shown what the cards are. And one of the Las Vegas cards has the same ace jack kind of thing. But this is definitely a demonic. This is not a Holy Spirit inspired tattoo. And the guy that I should have brought the other thing, but he's saying that the two eyes are the two spades are the devil's eyes, and then the horns come up like this, and then this is the cheekbone over here, and you can just barely see the mouth with the microphone going in it. So the mouth, but anyway, whether you believe that part of it or not, you can see it's kind of Illuminati looking. And so here's another guy that's brought up and placed at an event where Vegas is going to have the biggest false flag and event. And this guy happens to be the performer there when that goes on. So as I said, Jesus said, nation against nation, race against race. And they want to get us warring while they quietly install their control grid. So that's the theme today, is not being, led along into these things, into conservative camps or liberal camps. Most Christians don't go into the liberal camps, but there are a few. But that we always want to try to see past the veneer of what TV is showing us, if we're watching that, and instead focusing on the one who has all power in heaven and earth, who is the head of the body, our Lord Jesus Christ. So he's the one we need to be looking to and not be swayed by all this other stuff. But continuing with our leaders that are given to us, I know myself, when I saw Elon Musk coming up, I thought, wow, he's, this is kind of cool to have a real brilliant, guy, conservative, even though he's kind of a renegade, portrayed, but at least he's conservative in some ways. But 2 Corinthians 2:11, in order that no advantage be taken of us. So that's what we want to avoid. We want to be wise to these things so that no advantage can be taken of us by Satan. For we are not ignorant of his schemes. He has these schemes, these long-term schemes. So here's Elon, another, semi-leader that's being raised up, somewhat of a conservative. But what's going on with this changing with him buying out Twitter and changing it to X, which is a real demonic, in the dark side, it's a real symbol that they love. And so we got this nice little innocent Tweety, but now it's going to be X. And Hollywood has often talked, throughout history, of Osiris rising. So what does that mean? It has a lot to do with this X. You see Elon making the X with his arms, and he's smiling like, oh, hey, I'm just doing an X, like my new, what we're calling Twitter. I just kind of like X's, Here's the biggest Satanist of our generation, who is kind of beloved by Hollywood, and the dark side is Aleister Crowley. And he's doing the Osiris X when he was a lot younger. And you'll see many Hollywood stars making this pose. I didn't have time to dig up more, but you'll see it a lot. Remember, Wonder Woman used to make this pose when she would draw down power, the lightning bolt from heaven, or however it was. So Hollywood is very into this. And so what it goes back to, here's Osiris himself making the X with his arms. The Egyptian Osiris, X marks the spot. We've always been told that's what that is. Oh, X, that's where you find the treasure. X marks the spot. So it was Osiris with the goddess Isis who brings forth Horus. That's the Egyptian god family that was went all through their history. And Horus, of course, we know as the all-seeing eye. But this system right here, Osiris with Isis, was going to bring forth Horus. These two, mother and father goddess, brings forth this child who is the all-seeing eye, Horus. And that's the devil's long-term occult plan in a nutshell. And it's why the elite are so into this Osiris X and working to bring this to pass. So the all-seeing eye, like the CBS logo, etc. And they were bringing this Isis in way back in 2010. So they don't always know exactly the devil's plan, but they kind of have inclinings. And so AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon, just think of that, how hard it would be to get three major phone companies to all unite in anything. You know, they war against each other trying to get prices and all this. But no, they announced that today the formulation of a joint venture chartered with building out ISIS. Ah, interesting. ISIS. Why would they do that name? Well, because ISIS is going to bring forth Horus, the all-seeing eye, a national mobile commerce network that aims to fundamentally transform how people shop, pay, and save. So that's right at the heart of the beast system. Is they're always placed in these places where it has to do with shopping and paying. If all of us tried to get together and create a new PayPal or do a system, you know, there would be laws against it. They would block it. We wouldn't, the doors wouldn't be rolled open in the media to for everybody to know that we have our own little PayPal or whatever our deal is. We would get nowhere. But this controlling shopping and paying, you'll see they always have their people in control of that. And so here is from Wikipedia, the all-seeing eye of Horus. So this goes right back to Babylon. They would have this all-seeing eye, Horus. And it's what the eye on the dollar bill is. Same thing, the one eye, the all-seeing eye. And the way the Illuminati look at this is that when their system is in place, it comes down on the, but for right now, they haven't been able to place their capstone. And the capstone of the pyramid, well, that goes into some other stuff, but here's the CBS all-seeing eye. And remember, CBS is Columbia. And they changed the names of the goddess throughout history, but it's usually the same goddess, you know, Venus, Columbia, Ashtaroth, if you go way back. And for us in America, it was Columbia that was the goddess. You'll see that. In fact, our nation was either called Columbia or going to be called Columbia early on. And then they decided, well, we better hide this a little better than that. We'll call it America. So the ISIS phone system hasn't really come to fruition yet, and we're 13 years after that big thing. But ISIS did morph, and it became the terrorists, right? ISIS, such that the Muslim nations needed to be smashed and brought under control, i.e. to bring out world government, because that's also needed. You can't have control of buying and selling across the whole world unless you're controlling the whole world. So various nations needed to be smashed and brought under and have a puppet placed in charge. And this was because of ISIS. And also because of ISIS, we are all potential criminals now, where we need to be searched and frisked. And that, so again, because of ISIS, they bring in Horus, the all-seeing eye control system, and that's to protect us, and keep us safe. So the all-seeing eye, with cameras everywhere and losing all our freedoms and all our rights, and then eventually not able to spend, buy and sell. It's all under the guise of keeping us safe, because everybody could be a terrorist. And boy, we got to, really come all together. Let's all get vaxxed. Let's all do this, whatever it is they're bringing in. So that's the devil's long-range plan via the Egyptian Isis and Horus for his 666 control grid. And we will get to who Osiris is a little later. But just like God gave his plan for man way back in Genesis, let us make man in our image and likeness, so the devil has given out his plan since times of old. So here's Elon Musk, who just hired a woman to head things up at his new X. And she just happens to be a graduate of Klaus Schwab's WEF, the World Economic Forum, which is a demonic world control outfit. And of course, Musk himself is also a graduate of Klaus Schwab's Young Global Leaders. So this is how they bring people up and place them. They make it look like, oh, he came out of his garage and he's just a real sharp guy and he started PayPal and that's what we're told. But the bottom line is, they're people that they know have bowed the knee to the dark side. They come up in Illuminati families, and then they're placed in the positions that they want them to be in. So we see throughout Hollywood, many, they show their allegiance via the devil horns. So this is Elon Musk with Grimes, who is and when I say witch, I don't mean she's a bad lady. I mean she's, recognized as a literal witch. And he had children with her. And so you can see her given the devil horns here. And the State Department, our own US State Department, I don't know how many years, 40, 50 years ago, they had some kind of good guys here and there in the FBI that were noticing these satanic outfits in every city across the US. And so they did an investigation into this to see, like, what's going on here. And according to the State Department, the horned hand is a sign of recognition between those who are in the occult. So this is our own US State Department saying this. And you used to be able to go online on their site and see this, but they took that down now. You can't see their investigation into the occult. But I downloaded it and I have it on my computer if anybody wants it. So again, raising up our leaders. You may or may not agree with me, but this is what they do. And here is on the right side of this. This isn't anything I put together. This is copied from some other site, but this comes right from that State Department document, which I have. And it says the mark of the beast. And then for this, it says the horned hand is the sign of recognition between those who are in the occult. I don't know if you can read that, but that's what that yellow says there. So you'll see Obama do this, Hillary, the Bushes, whether they're on the left or the right, they're all signaling, hey, don't worry about me. I'm with you. I'm with the system. I'm with the beast. And so, of course, we also have Taylor Not So Swift, who is the beloved of all the media. I mean, they're all just, they fall down and start drooling when they talk about Taylor Swift and her concerts. And they're saying how her Eros tour could possibly generate 4.6 billion for the US economy, i.e. for the bankers and the Satanists that control her rollout. So Fortune reports that fans are spending $1,300 an average for tickets, travel, and clothing. And of course, this is put out on June 12, which is a veiled way of saying 666. They always slip stuff in like that. And so here's Taylor giving the devil horns to her adoring fans. And these are the things, they don't want us to see, but they're to themselves. They're letting, I'm one of you, I'm in the system. I'm in with Osiris and Horus. So Elon says there will be no more tweets, but X's. So he also says that XAI for artificial intelligence is coming. And he wants to make X, Twitter, become like WeChat, which is a Chinese app that does credits social scores or whatever it's called, where if you're not really 100% with the government, you get dockings against you and you're not accepted. But this Chinese app includes finances. So again, Elon wants to make his X become like WeChat, where it controls all the finances. Initially, it'll be on your phone, but then mean people will steal phones, and so they'll have to put it on as a chip in your hand or forehead. So it's all going to go to AI banking, artificial, where you cannot reach a human for help. And the robot says, talk to the hand if they don't like any of your views. You can just kind of be locked out of the system. I had that on PayPal a couple of days ago where I went to log on and it said, oh, you've had too many attempts. Try back later. And I hadn't had any attempts. It was the first time I had logged on and I had to pay for something. And so it took me a couple hours to chase around and find a way to, get in. You can't log in and talk to anybody because you don't have your password is blocked. And so 2 hours later, I finally got on the phone and they said, no, nobody else has been trying to get in. We don't know what happened. But here, I'll unlock you. So I got to some nice lady that works there that finally got me in. But anyway, it just shows how easy it is to be locked out. And notice the X here on Twitter. See here's where it used to be a nice little Tweety bird. Now it's the X. And X is not new for Musk. So this goes back to PayPal. And again, their man being placed along with Peter Thiel, who is still around. Both of them started PayPal, but Peter Thiel is real big in power positions in crypto and bringing in the beast system through crypto. And so again, these people are placed, and it was branded X.com. So we've got that Osiris aspect again. And, Elon's named his son X which is a little bizarre, as you might think. And you think, well, what hope does he have? And then, well, what hope did Elon have when his mom was full-blown Illuminati? So here she's given the Horus one eye signal with the 666. And, you know, the Hollywood stars always do these veiled one eye for Horus. And here with this kind of another veiled 666 with accenting one eye for Horus. So this is Elon's mom here. Yeah, so here's their baby. Their son was actually called XAEA-12. Can you see that there? That's his whole name. XAEA-12. You know, that kind of sounds a little demonic, doesn't it, to have it name your child that? And when asked, well, what does the A12 stand for? He said, A12 is a Lockheed plane built for the CIA. And it was CIA who gave us MK Ultra, where they would program people that are the US Congress had a big congressional investigation into MK Ultra because they were taking people out of prisons and colleges and doing mind control programming on them. So this is not something that, you know, back room. This is something that was a complete congressional investigation, and they told him to stop it. But of course, the CIA just took it underground. But why would you name your son after a plane built for the CIA? It just kind of seems weird. So Elon, his brood keeps growing, this article says. The Tesla mogul and one of his top neural link, so that's in the brain, you know, putting a link in the brain, neural link. One of his top executives, a lady named Siobhan Zillis, welcomed twins in November 21, just a month before the arrival of his second child with on-again, off-again partner Grimes via surrogate. Now, Grimes was that witch lady we saw up above. I don't know quite what this means via surrogate. But anyway, it doesn't matter, I guess. But so the three newborns joined Musk's 6 other children, Griffin, Vivian, Kai, Saxon, Damien, and X. After losing their firstborn, and you'll see this a lot in Hollywood and different places, but I won't go into it other than to say, remember in the Old Testament, when with the backslidden part of Israel, they would offer their children to Baal. And this still goes on today for those that are in even though they put out movies, you know, acting like they're going to go after that kind of thing, it's all a show. And if they put movies out saying they're going to go after the child traffickers, it's only because they want to chip all the children, and that's why they're bringing that in now. But so Griffin and Vivian are now 18. X, their son, was originally XAEA-12, but AE and 12 violated California law for not being part of the English alphabet. So you can't name your kid after a number in California, forcing his parents to change his name to A-XII or 11, whatever that is. So they were still able to call him X12 after the CIA plane, but they had to change it to Roman numerals. So Vivian, their daughter, came out as transgender in June, I'm guessing on June 12th. But anyway, June of 2022, when she filed a request to change her first name and take the last name of her mom. So she wants to get away from Elon. The filing listed the reason as gender identity and the fact that I no longer live with or wish to be related to my biological father in any way, shape, or form. So it sounds like there's something going on there. Grimes, the witch we saw up above, revealed in March 2022 that she and the SpaceX founder had welcomed their first daughter, the unusually named Exa Dark Side Real Musk, via surrogate. So I don't know why they're having all these surrogates. But how's that for a name? You can't call your daughter X, so you call her Exa. Exa Dark Side. And then this is side real, but you can see how it reads. Exa Dark Side Musk. Exa was given the nickname Y after their other child being named X. So they didn't want to call two people X and Exa, so they nicknamed her Y. In the occult, the X and the O joined invokes the goddess to form, when you cross the circle, to form a celestial throne, the vehicle of her power. So this is the goddess, as we saw with Wonder Woman. And it's also the symbol for the mark of the beast, this circle X. We see that logo in X-Files and many other Hollywood and corporate logos. A lot of times it's kind of veiled. I could have pulled up a bunch of those, but like Xbox, Microsoft, it's an X with a circle kind of thing. But they always do it in kind of veiled ways a lot of times. And so again, these are not sharp business people that climb their way to the top. They are known by their Illuminati families and they are placed. Like Gates, they tell us he's a sharp guy that started in his garage, but no, they had a long-range plans for him and the doors were open to him by IBM and everybody else. And so now he's actually like a health czar in charge of you know what, the word we're kind of not supposed to say. So when Trump first came in, remember he was going against Hillary, and most people were like, anybody but Hillary. And I admit I voted for Trump because that's how I felt. I thought, I didn't know as much as I knew about things back then, but I thought at least with Trump, we don't have Hillary. But here was his dream team at the time. But you do a little research into these guys, and of course, most of us knew about Henry Kissinger at that time. He was part of Trump's dream team. He's Knight of Malta. He's in the CFR. He's just as dark as you can get. He was the first one that was going to be appointed on the committee to investigate 9/11. He was the one they put on the committee, but then there was such a rebellion against it, they had to move him aside and bring somebody else in to investigate 9/11. Another guy, John Bolton, is on Trump's team. He's also Knight of Malta and CFR. They're all part of these same Illuminati clubs. Rudy Giuliani, most people are sure he's a right-wing, God bless America, fighting for us guy. But same thing, Knight of Malta, New York City mayor during 9/11. And then Stephen Mnuchin, this guy, he's Skull and Bones. So just like Bush and Bush's father. who I was deceived by. I sent money to the Bush campaign thinking that he was a Christian. And thanks to a few people, I kind of got my eyes open. And Stephen Mnuchin comes right out of Goldman Sachs, and then he's put in charge of the Treasury, of course. So, and then Wilbur Ross up here at the top, he was 25 years long Rothschild banker. So you kind of get the feel that this is not really grassroots grabbing people, God bless America, but these are all people that are going to help the beast form. They're all inside. Here's some of the connections. Trump to Kushner. Remember, Kushner married his daughter. They owned the 666 building in New York that was sold for the most money ever of any building. So here's Trump, Kushner, Mnuchin, and George Soros, which most people would recognize as being very evil. I don't know if you can read these things here, but so George Soros made $160 million loan to Donald Trump to build Trump Tower in Chicago. That was in 2004. And George Soros isn't known as the guy who hangs around with God Bless America, people that sing that and salute the flag. You know, that's not what his normal people that he likes to hang around. Jared Kushner with his brother Josh started a real estate investment vehicle cadre with a loan of $250 million from George Soros in 2015. So this is getting right near when Kushner was put in position by Trump. Remember, Kushner was the embassy to Israel or whatever he was. So he's in money deals with Soros. And then Steve Mnuchin establishes his company, SFM Capital Management, together with George Soros in 2003. So this Mnuchin, Skull and Bones, on Trump Dream Team, started a company with George Soros. Anyway, I know a lot of people don't like to hear all this, but here's World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab with the Masonic handshake, the thumb over the knuckle like that. But anyway, let's get into Osiris. We've covered Isis and Horus. So who is Osiris? So in the Egyptian mythology, and you have to kind of dig deep to find these things. If you look in Wikipedia, they'll throw a bunch of phony stuff in and murky it all up. But when you go to the real Egyptian, history kind of places, what happened is Osiris was cut into 14 pieces by Set, who was Isis's brother. In other words, in the god family of structures. This wasn't a real man that was cut into 4 pieces, but as the myth of the gods, this is what happened. So this comes from World History EDU. And this quote, when Seth got to know that Osiris's body had been found, so Seth originally put Osiris in a casket and sailed him down the Nile River. But Isis went and found the body. I forgot to tell you that part. And so Isis was a great magician, and she was going to bring Osiris back from the dead. And Seth heard about that. Well, he sent goons to fetch the body. And this time around, Seth is believed to have chopped the body of Osiris into 14 pieces before scattering the dismembered parts in the Nile. So this gets a little weird, but just try to stay with me here because this is what it's all built on right here. And this part does come from Wikipedia, but Wikipedia has all these little side topics and weird topics, and it wasn't where it should have been in the Osiris account, but it was in like a little subtopic area where it was really tough to find. But the phallus, so the 14 pieces, one of them was the phallus of Osiris. So here Wikipedia says the phallus played a role in the cult of Osiris in ancient Egypt and today, we'll see. When Osiris's body was cut in 14 pieces, Set scattered them all over Egypt, and his wife Isis retrieved all of them except one, his penis, which was swallowed by a fish. And I know that's funny, but that's where we get the Pope with the hat. You know, this is it all, a lot of that comes from this fish. And so they say Isis made him a wooden replacement. Well, it wasn't wooden, it was golden, but for some reason they try to confuse it a little. So I just say it was really hard to find this quote where they would admit to the 14 pieces. If you look under Osiris, they don't say 14 pieces. They just say fishes ate it, not a fish. They always subtly change things. But Podesta, who's known as, you know, some people call him Podesta the Molesta, he was Hillary's campaign chairman when they went against Trump. The dark side are very into this Osiris rising. People like Hillary Clinton's campaign manager, John Podesta, he was also in Pizzagate and the WikiLeaks emails and all that, where they had code for, you know, little children and little girls and, you know, what was cheese and, you know, all these things. It's pretty dark and demonic, but of course, nothing ever happens to them because they're the elite. So the following picture was found in the WikiLeaks email hacking, and people wondered what in the world was Podesta, Hillary's campaign chairman, doing, sending this picture in an email to this group. So when they hacked the WikiLeaks emails, somebody found this picture in one of the group emails. So 14 and a fish. And people were like, what in the world is this? They had no idea what this weird, you know, why would he write with a felt pen 14 and a fish? And so we have new movies that pretend to be exposing child trafficking financed by Mormons, but they never expose these kind of people. They never expose the root. They make it look like it's the average loser out on the street, you know, and every video I post on YouTube, I can't post it if I don't forget to answer this one question. Do you have any children involved in this video? And so they kind of try to make it look like everybody's a molester and they're trying to save everybody. But anyway, so here's Horus. I'm sorry, Isis here with the horns, you see. They always got that in there. And her child, Horus. And for those of you that have seen our constellations video, you'll see that this Egyptian false deity is very similar to the Israelite constellations that God gave. And so remember this picture here as we go down a little further. So this comes out, I have to put this, give credit of where this came from. And here is the sub-constellation called Coma, which means desired son. So the devil takes it and makes the desired son Horus, And of course, the devil would have known the typology that God had placed in the stars with the constellations. So he's going to try to come and bring his own stuff. But God placed the constellations in the sky. And as part of the constellation Virgo, the Virgin, this is the real. So the devil gives us the false, but God gives us the real. And it's so amazing that you can't change these constellations. You can still look up in the sky. The devil can't change that, that it's still up there. So this is the real, pointing to the Virgin with her desired son. So the devil knows things, and he knows how to bring his counterfeit, Isis and Horus. So here is Coma. This is the constellation, and this comes from ancient Hebrew zodiac, which was recovered, showing, you can see Virgo here, and as a sub constellation, this was called Coma, which in Hebrew it meant the desired son. So this is the Virgin with the son. God is placing this in the heavens. And those of you that saw those past videos know, what all that's talking about. Job says, "Canst thou bind the sweet influences of the Pleiades or loose the bands of Orion?" So those are two other sub-constellations. So God knew that Job knew what these constellations were. And the early people knew about all these things, but the dark side has made us stay away from them and act like it's just all kind of weird occult stuff. But it was God that placed the constellations, and he did it showing his plan. So this constellation of the Virgin with son, desired son, was around long before the prophecy of Isaiah, where he said, "Therefore the Lord himself will give you a sign. Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel," which is God with us. So that's in Hebrew, God with us. They knew that a virgin was going to conceive and bring forth. And that's what Virgo was showing with the Virgo Virgin and the desired son. And it's very interesting, but in the original Hebrew of this verse, it does not say a virgin, but it says the Virgin, which kind of implies it's the Virgin, which they all knew, the Virgin constellation of Virgo, which, as those that saw those constellation videos remember, that is when Jesus was most likely born, on the day of shouting, the day of trumpets in Virgo, which happens in September. 9/11 was probably the date. As we went, but anyway, back to the 14 pieces. So after you might say, well, what's that got to do with us, Al? We're the good old USA, God bless America. Anyway, back to the 14 pieces of Osiris. After we had the 13 colonies in the US, a scuffle took place. And at that time, the capital was in Philadelphia. Well, there was some kind of a big kind of mini war, kind of like Trump attacking the Capitol. And golly gee, because of this scuffle that took place, and things always happen perfectly right when they want them to. It was then decided, hey, we got to move the capital from Philadelphia to keep it safe. And where are we going to go? Well, here's where the capital kind of became the 14th colony of sorts. This new 14th colony would be on a 100 square mile piece of land cut out between Virgin and Mary. So there's a little shout out to Isis, the Virgin Mary. Again, that was Osiris' wife who found the 14th piece. And by the way, she was able to impregnate herself with that golden 14th piece and bring forth Horus. So here you can see Mary land and Virgin. So this 100-mile place was placed right here. And notice these rivers kind of make a devil horn, which is kind of what another theme of our whole deal has been, right? With the capital kind of in the middle of this devil horns. And you can say, oh, Al, you're really stretching now, but just hold with me for a second. Remember, it's called Columbia after the goddess, right? So you got to bring Columbia in between Mary and the Virgin. In the land of Israel, when the heathen were in control, there was an important town named after the goddess, Ashtaroth. And it was called Ashtaroth Karnaim. The meaning of Ashtaroth Karnaim is Ashtaroth of the double horns. So this same thing here, it's the double horns. Genesis 14:4. So this is where these kings of Sodom were going to go to war, and they actually took this one Chedorlaomer, and they took Lot captive. You remember that, when Lot was taken captive and Abraham had to go rescue him? That's what's going on here. In the 13th year, they rebelled. So they served Chedorlaomer for 12 years, but in the 13th year, they rebelled. And 13 is a big name. It's always been a big number with the occult. So this is a big thing to them here. And in the 14th year, Chedorlaomer and the kings that were with him came and defeated the Rephaim in Ashtaroth Karnaim. So that's our Ashtaroth, the goddess of the double horns. So this comes right out of the Bible. This isn't anything I'm making up. And you can see Strong's gives the meaning. Ashtaroth Karnaim is Ashtaroth of the double horns, a place east of Jordan. So does it look like that was by coincidence? So here's Ashtaroth Karnaim in the Bible, and here's the double horns, and this is Ashtaroth of the double horns. Ashtaroth Karnaim, right in the middle of these double horns coming in. But you say, well, what's the 14th missing piece of Osiris? What's the phallic? Where is that then? If this is the 14th colony, where's the 14th piece? This missing 14th piece, the phallic of Osiris, would be set up right there in Washington, D.C., right where the new capital would be. And so there you have the 14th missing piece of Osiris. So you kind of get the idea that there's a hidden hand who's really leading things. It's not the, how many of us God Bless America people would say, hey, let's put one of these right at the state capitol? We would fight like anything to not have that put up in our God Bless America, but no, here it is. This obelisk is 555 feet high, which is 6,660 inches, just happens to be. And of course, we've always been told, don't worry, don't look at these obvious signs. Just listen to what we tell you on TV. We are the God Bless America. You can trust us. Just don't look behind the curtain. And of course, in the movies, the X-Files was a TV series you probably all know, but there's that Circle X. And the very first initial episode, I saw an interview with the director. He says somebody came in, he was going to do another show, but somebody came in with a plot of, and this was 6 months before 9/11 happened. Somebody came in with a plot of two planes going into the 911, the Twin Towers, by remote control. And it was kind of brought in by dark forces of the government. Now, I doubt you can find that episode anymore, but that was the inaugural episode of Circle X Files, was the 9/11 planes going into the buildings that got us to go to war with ISIS, the mean terrorists. I thought I would only get halfway through, but I'm almost done. So some of these notes, I was thinking I was going to have to make it a two-part because it was like 28 pages, and usually in 2 hours I can get by about 12 or 13 pages, but I guess I had so many pictures and not that much writing. Facebook rebrands to Meta, which means after or beyond. And then Twitter so everything around us changes and nothing is stable. Everything is, and then X is what Elon says, the app to end all apps, a whole new realm of interactivity where all your buying and selling and everything will be right on this X app. And you won't be able to Twitter or tweet anyone unless you're a good X. So we're transitioning and change. The old system must come down for the new world order to come in, centralizing all control into the 10 financial kings. And then here's one more veiled Circle X. I have a whole file on corporate logos that are Circle X's, but they do it veiled a lot of times. So this is the Skull and Bones logo with where both Bushes went to and Mnuchin. Only 15 people a year are allowed to enter into the Skull and Bones at Yale University. So you have to be high-level Illuminati to get in there. And in one presidential election, both candidates, Bush and Kerry, came out of Skull and Bones. So that shows you how they know how to move their people up into position. So anyway, that's all we have for today. Anybody have any questions or anything to say? Was that too wild, or did it make sense, I hope? Looks like we have another chat from somebody. Yep. John says we need to keep looking up, and that's right. At the same time, we don't want to be taken in by the devil's tricks. So with that note, I will say goodbye to everybody, and Lord bless. Nobody has anything to say. So hopefully it was informative. Okay, God bless everyone.
Bye, Al.
Bye-bye.